This is Billy Earl, and this is Eastern Shore Politics. We are thrilled to have a guest with us today who is an experienced legislator. He is the at-large legislator for the County Council and running for re-election as an incumbent, John T. Cannon. John,
Pleasure
thank you so much for coming by.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks.
I know you got a million places to be, and I say this to everybody, but any politician that comes on our show during campaign season, I know they're doing double and triple duty and will do everything to spread your message.
That's glad to be here.
Well, how you
Appreciate
been?
it. Doing great. Staying busy.
Okay.
Very busy, yes.
On the 4th of July, did you do anything really different or interesting?
We did quite a bit on the 4th of July. My family actually helps me a lot. We had parades that we went to. We went to the Allen Parade. We went to the fireworks in Willards, and we went to fireworks. We went to Shorebridge Stadium last night, which was really interesting with the game and the fireworks all combined. Chris Bitters does a great job at the Del Mar
I love that
Shorebridge
stadium.
Yes, it's a great stadium. A lot of fun.
Yeah. It actually beats driving all the way to Baltimore and going through the the permutations of parking and walking and yeah. It's nice to have such a great facility here.
Sure it is.
This is a campaign that is speaking to hopefully a lot of people right now because, as you are certainly aware, so much of the body politic emanates from the local level. You know, we get focused on the national this and the national that, but people need to pay way more attention, and they need to vote. Anybody out there who's thinking about not voting, don't think that way. It is an obligation that we have because of the rights and the gifts that we are given from our democracy. So get out and pull that lever. Anyway, back to the point. Here we are looking at this election, and there's an awful lot of local issues that are kind of on the table. What do you consider your greatest challenge in running for re-election to be?
Well, I think the greatest challenge, and not just to me, but to the voters as a whole, is to make sure they do their homework. Because this is a very active election season, more so than I've experienced over the last few. And I think that it's so important because you have people who will come out and they will campaign, and they're strong campaigners, but you have to make sure that you know who that individual is, what that individual represents,
right?
Whether or not you feel as if they not only will work and do the job, they'll do the homework, and then they can also, it depends very much as what they end up bringing to the table in the long run. We've done a lot in WICOMICO County. We have a lot going for us. And personally speaking, that's what I look for, is to try to continue with that success, whether it's with the airport, whether it's what we're doing with the roads.
Right.
The great work we've done in promoting and defending public safety, whether it's the fire departments, whether it's the sheriff's department. We've done quite a bit in that avenue as well. So, and I believe I mentioned education. I'm not sure. If I didn't, it's a lot of our budget, so you have to make sure you're paying close attention to that as well.
I'm hoping that there's more of this paying attention and focusing on the issues, and not to the campaign part, but to the issues and who's running on what policy basis. Then I think there is. I know this is off year, and that always brings out less people. But, we're in trying times, and we're in times where the electorate voice really has to be heard, and it really has to stand up, and it has to look for things in politicians. One is a legislative record, and then part of, what I think is so important is experience. This is not a job that it's easy to come in and learn as you go when you're there, because it looks to me like you're going to get lapped 5 times, to use NASCAR language, before you really have a handle on the way things work. You've been here how many years in the legislative process?
I've been 12 out of the last 16. I took about a 4-year hiatus, but I've been on the council 12 of the last 16 years, and I've actually served as president 9 of those 12 years. It's been a privilege to do that. So that's the experience that I have currently. I don't rest on that. I recognize that you have to be, forward thinking constantly, and we do that as part of the council's concern. We're right in the middle of so many productive issues that are right at the forefront, whether it's broadband or whether we're looking at the water and sewer master plan. I think a lot of people recognize the issues in Wicomico County. We have a lot of failing septic systems in the county, and we have to decide how we're going to best address that. it's kind of a two-pronged system with the water and sewer. One is trying to get the most out of the Environmental Services Department and the WICOMICO County Health Department, so that we can continue with development. We can if someone's septic system goes awry, that we can find a good solution to that. Right now, we're in a lot of pressure, I think, from the state. I think the pressure with the MDE and the Maryland Department of Health is mound systems,
right,
or else they want to put a holding tank in. And I think there's so many people that recognize that isn't always the best solution for the citizens of the county. But we certainly want to strive to do whatever we can to find the best solution that hopefully isn't going to cost you $24,000 in your property values by the time you're done. So that's just the water and sewer. Again, the broadband, there's unserved areas that I think it's very important that we get to. We have a memo of understanding with Talkie Communications to try to move that forward.
Okay.
I want to move it forward more quickly.
Tell me about that.
Well, right now we have this understanding with Talkie Communications that they will be the internet service provider, and the rates are reasonable. We put out an RFP with all the local servers, and it was very competitive. Talkie Communications had the best to offer. I want to make sure that we follow up on that, and actually nothing to do with campaigning. As it is right now with business as usual, within the next, I'd say within August, I want to have them at the table to see exactly where we're headed with it, what type of infrastructure they are seriously going to put in, something tangible that we know is going to make a difference.
Okay. What percentage of the population in WICOMICO County do you think doesn't have broadband access?
I can't say for sure what percentage. You know, there are certain unserved areas, and we know where they are. We have the map that shows us where they are. But it's what needs to be addressed. Actually, is to make sure that we have 100% build out. We know certainly that Comcast, which is our largest provider in WICOMICO County, isn't going to go that last mile. They may go to a neighborhood that has 70 houses. And they'll send that pipeline right to the 70 houses. But if you have 10 in between, they may not necessarily extend that service to there. So that's what Talkie is supposed to be helping the WICOMICO County with, and that is getting into those areas where there are only a few, where it doesn't pay to do it. And in that instance, you do have to have some assistance. That's where government comes into play. You know, I have always felt that government should be hands off, but then you have to recognize there's times when only government can solve those problems. Yeah. And that's one of those where it doesn't pay to service those particular one or two houses, but somebody has to do it. And together with Maryland Broadband, they're laying trunk lines down to some of these areas as well. And then Talkie Communications can do, I wouldn't say the last mile, but maybe the last 100 yards to actually deliver that service.
What ultimate effect do you think lack of access to broadband has on a family or on a child?
Oh, I think it's incredibly traumatizing if you don't have internet access. I think it's funny, in the last recession that we had, there's silver linings. The last recession taught us we needed to concentrate more on economic development. Okay. This, with the COVID and what we've seen in the last 2 years, I think the silver lining here is that we realize how badly we have to pay attention to broadband and access for everyone. We found that out with education. We found that out with health needs. There are also businesses that are in the surrounding rural areas that don't have internet access that need it for business. So you have a three-pronged, really solid reason why WICOMICO County needs to make sure we address those issues. Education, I think, being the most important.
Right, yeah.
So when you find out that kids were having to go to community centers to have internet access. I mean, it's one thing that they're using laptops at home and they can't go to the school. Yeah. But then to add insult to injury, they can't do it from home. They have to go to a community center. So we'd like to do away with that and make sure everyone has that access. It's more about just entertainment. Okay. Do you think this issue is resonating with the other voters, the ones that already have it? I think everybody recognizes it. Okay. I don't think people are that selfish that they say, well, I haven't. I'm not worried about it. You have to recognize, in order to persevere as a county as a whole, everyone has to grow, I think, in the same and have the same benefits and the same options. Mm-hmm. You appear to have a real interest in this. Are the other candidates talking about this at all? Well, they should be. I mean, broadband is one of the highest priorities. Broadband, water and sewer is one of the highest priorities. Broadband is one of our highest priorities. And this is over above everything else. This is above education, public safety. Believe me, everything is a high priority, but you have to look at what needs to be addressed right now. And maybe you might want to focus more strongly on those issues. So you're looking at broadband, you're looking at water and sewer. And I also think we have to pay attention on getting a grant writer in Wicomico County. If it's just, I don't think it necessarily has to be a department, but I think it would take at least 2 individuals. I'd like to learn more about it before we make those decisions. But whether the grant writer is in the purchasing department, or whether we create a department head, or whether it's in the executive's office, as an administrative function. But we need grant writers, because I really feel as if over the years, and I mean several years, that we just haven't taken advantage of all the grants that are out there.
Yeah. And there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that have mastered the intricacies and the somewhat, what's the right word, Byzantine nature of writing these grants. Because take your average lawyer to sit down there and draft a proper grant.
Right.
He's going to mess it up as well as a guy who's out there, farming soybeans.
Oh. Yeah.
It is a gift, and I'm not a gift. It is almost an academic study to be able to do it, and to do it correctly, to understand who you're writing it to and who you're writing it on behalf.
You're 100% correct. Yeah. And not only that, but then you have to have the talent to search it out and know where to go to find out what grants there are and who's offering them. That in itself. So.
It seems easy. What other issues are of real importance to you?
I think that we really want to make sure that we maintain a great quality of life. As I said before, economic development is crucial here. We're very lucky because we have hospitals, we have universities, we have geographically where we're located with the highway systems, with the rail systems, with the second largest port and our airport. We're very fortunate with that. So we have to maintain that. We have to keep it, I guess, an enabling environment to let us continue to prosper. We focused an awful lot more recently on the airport, and we've done great work on the airport, a lot of really good work. We're looking at the airport extension. I think we need to see hangar improvements. What's very critical to us at the airport is also maintenance. In order to keep Piedmont here, we really have to focus on having proper maintenance, so when the planes come in from wherever they might come, those planes can be serviced before they go back out. It involves a lot of jobs locally, and it also is very critical to keeping the airline industry here. The last thing in the world I want to see is either us as individuals or CEOs of businesses and companies in Wicomico County and having to drive to Baltimore or having to drive to what we take it for granted sometimes. But if you want to have to drive to Baltimore or Washington to get any flight out, personal or business, so that's how important it is to us. It's a regional aspect that we need to make sure that we pay close attention to.
We fly, and we fly out of Salisbury on American, and are thrilled to do so. I do have a consumer complaint, though. I used to be able to get a really, really good Reuben sandwich there, and now I can't.
Yeah, we have tried so many restaurateurs in that location.
Come on, somebody step up here.
I get it. It's just a difficult one.
I know.
Maybe we'll get a Reuben vending machine for you. You could start that yourself now.
I think that's actually illegal in 17 states. It's a great little airport, and as a matter of fact, my wife just came back from Tennessee seeing her son and his wife, who just graduated from college. And it is so convenient to have American, that comes in through either Charlotte or through Philly, have it here. And it's a great little airport.
Sure it is.
Great little airport. What other projects are near and dear to your heart?
I think we've touched on most of them, I guess, which is right now, which is the broadband, which is the water and sewer. My biggest, the one that I think is the most heartfelt on my part right now, is trying to find some resolution to our Wicomico County Health Department, the environmental services, where they talk about. That was an issue when I first ran. I will never forget. I was going out and I was campaigning, and I was keeping budget issues in mind and numbers, et cetera. And it seems like 80% of the people I talked to were talking about the environmental services, and they wanted to get a septic tank replaced or something like that. And it's settled down for a while, but over the last 4 or 5 years, it's come back again to sort of haunt us. And I don't think we're alone. We even made an attempt through the state of Maryland to try to get the state, because these are state employees, even though it's the Wicomico County Health Department.
Right.
So we tried to
I
get
didn't know that.
Yeah, we tried to get a bill passed. No, a lot of people don't. We tried to get a bill passed in Annapolis that allowed them to change the pay range on the state employees in that particular department, so that as a county we could pay them more money.
Right.
So we're asking the state, change the range and we'll cover the costs.
They
Didn't
wouldn't do it?
pass. No, it didn't get out. It didn't get out of committee. So, which really surprised us, and that is our problem right now. We have 1.5 people out there, environmental engineers, who are out there doing the job, the specialists, and we need about 5. So it's
Yikes.
We're still getting work done, but a lot of work comes to a standstill. And we've heard complaints from developers, contractors, realtors across the board. The Coastal Association of Realtors has done great work in trying to help everyone move this forward. We've had meetings with the Secretary of the Department of Environment, the Undersecretary of the Environment. Just about 2 weeks ago, we met with her. So we are trying and working with everything we can possibly do to make this happen.
Wow. Tangential question. What does your family think about you holding office and campaigning, especially every couple of years when you have to go out and out and out and out?
Yeah. Hey, they're troopers.
Supportive?
They're troopers, yeah.
So important.
My son, his wife, the 2 kids, my sister, and my wife, we were all on the Allen Parade just yesterday, so loving it. It was warm. It was warm.
Yeah.
And we had plenty of water. But at the end, you get the homemade ice cream.
What do you like
makes it
best
all right.
about campaigning?
Meeting people.
Yeah?
I love it. And having the opportunity to solve problems. I mean, I don't take it for granted. It's a privilege. And I'm not the greatest mind in the world. I think the funniest comment I've ever heard was, the only time I'm the smartest person in the room is when I'm the only person in the room, right? So I don't take any of that for granted. So having the privilege to have people who allow me to try to make those decisions and solve those problems, it's very rewarding. And to be able to come up with viable solutions is very rewarding. And I don't take it all for granted or take it all for credit. We have wonderful department heads in Wicomico County who do really great work. Yeah. But it's so much fun being able to interact with leaders in the community, whether it's government, whether it's educational, or whether it's business leaders in the community. Having that privilege, it's a lot of fun. And you're meeting with great minds, which gives you the opportunity. Yeah.
To be around them and to absorb them. Think we're going to have a good turnout this election?
Well, you had mentioned earlier that being not being a presidential election cycle, that it may not be as good. But I think there's going to be a huge wave, because so many people are there. I think they're so angry with what they're seeing happening in Washington, D.C., that there's going to be a huge wave of individuals that are just going to be coming out. This is going to be, I think, a very good November.
So the national politics will drive the local politics?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, anything that can happen to get people engaged and get them out and voting, I am all in favor of. When you're out on the stump, what is the one question that stands out to you as the most interesting from a voter?
I would say that it's funny that the most challenging one is when someone will say, why are you running, or something to that effect. It's a real simple question, but then you sometimes have to think about it. And similar to what I just said a couple of minutes ago with you, is that I enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a representative, that representative, you'll have a lot of talk, and you'll hear a lot of talk, and a lot of promises. I mean, I sit at tables with 8 or 9 people right next to me the whole time. But you have to have substance in that individual. You have to have somebody that wants to work. I was joking with a friend of mine, Pete Bozick, who worked on the water and sewer plant. I said, Pete, when we were in high school, did we ever think that it was going to be 1 o'clock in the morning and we'd kind of be enjoying reading about septic systems and water and sewer issues? And yet, you are. And you have to like that. And you have to also be a people person and committed to it. And so, I mean, speaking for myself personally, since you're interviewing me, I enjoy that. That's what I like to do. I get a real.
When you were in high school, did you do your homework?
I was mediocre in high school. I really was. I was. So, but somewhat in college too. I think a lot of people, you'll find that with a lot of people, that their strong suit usually is, as they grow up and become adults, they find their what works for them, and that's where you actually take off. That's why it's really good with our educational systems now and junior achievement. mean, junior achievement, that's what they try to do. They say, okay, this child may not be great in general, but we need to find the specific, because once you can find out what that child is interested in, that's when they're going to progress. That's when you're going to see huge success. And that is the biggest thing. I mean, how many people, even in college, had like 3 majors before they graduated?
Right, many.
Right. Yeah, right.
Most, maybe.
Yes. And that's what I think we're trying to do in our educational system, which is so great, not only in public schools, but in junior achievement. And Ray Hoy, even with Warwick Community College, tries to develop those dynamics. And that's what you really need, is get that child interested early, knowing what they want, and then working towards that success.
Okay, I'm going to tell a story on myself. In 1972, I went to play football at Randolph-Macon College, and I took a course in computers, and mostly because my brother had already gotten interested in them,
yeah.
and I didn't know a thing about them. So the drill was to program the computer to solve a problem. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that I was going to be there, up night after night with those little chads, those little cards,
right.
putting the chads in there.
Right.
And so I got done with it, and I got a good grade in the course because I got, obsessed with having my chads properly de-chatted. Well, my takeaway from that is these computers will never become an important part of our life. It's too difficult. Mm-hmm. The language here is ridiculous. Yeah. Nobody's going to sit up and do this. Right. So I never went back to another computer class. Pretty smart, huh? Anyway, so here we are. We're getting close to it. Couple of things probably are going to happen, during this time because it's warm. Mm-hmm. Are you guys going door to door, or are you doing mailers, or are you doing phone calls, or all of the above?
You try to reach out to everybody and get to everyone as quickly as you can. And what's the most efficient means by doing that? Social media is really big, and I've had to actually develop my social media more than I have in the past. I haven't been really great on self-promotion. I do the work. My wife said to me, it was a few months back, she goes, John, you just went to 3 events today, and really nobody knows that. And it's kind of
right.
It's kind of true. So
there has to be a digital trail.
Yes. So I've just never really been one on the self-promotion type of issues. But we're developing. We're getting there.
Well, you know how we are. We tend to gravitate sometimes towards the show horse rather than the workhorse.
That's I haven't heard that phrase
before. The show horse is on digital media all the time. What they have for breakfast. What kind of shirt are they wearing, to an event today? Right. As opposed to the guy who's sitting up at 1 o'clock reading about septic systems.
Yeah, right.
I know we have a brand new generation of kids who are coming into politics, and I applaud them, and I want them to be there. However, this is a difficult time, and I must admit, as an older person, I tend to put a lot of emphasis on experience. Mm-hmm. Not having to learn how all of this works, as we're going along, and which, in my mind, directly, not tangentially, but directly relates to the ability to see forward and to act forward. Right. Because without a sense of history, prognosticating what will work and what direction we should go, I think is monumentally difficult.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I think someone has to, the benefit of having the experience is that you feel comfortable in your own skin, and that being done, you sort of have a base of getting a better idea of where to work from and who to talk to possibly. Mm-hmm. I think institutional knowledge is invaluable, as well as the working relationships with the individuals. To know where to go and to try to get an idea of how you might want to make things better for the citizens of Wicomico County.
Okay. How is the communication on the council between members? Is it good?
Yeah, I think we have a good working relationship. I can call any one of them at any time, and we'll talk on a regular basis. And even with the executive, we have a good working relationship with the acting county executive. Right. So that's always very important for all of us. And the department heads, there's a lot more freedom now in trying to exchange information with the department heads. An interesting thing, the charter technically says that the county council cannot engage with the department heads one-on-one. The purpose of that is so that they only have one boss and not 8 bosses.
Gotcha.
And I get it. But when a citizen calls me and says, John, I have a problem with this particular road here, or I have a different issue over here, you do want to be able to call that department head. And we do have that flexibility. And I always notify the county executive at the same time.
Okay.
And say, here's the issue we have, that this person's complaining because there's too much trash here, there's a pothole there.
Right.
And so it's been I think it's been a very good open exchange.
Okay. So what are you going to do when you win?
Yeah, well, let's win
Disney
first.
World?
Let's win first. Yeah, win first, and then the work continues.
Okay.
Yeah, the work
It
continues.
is a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun, but I enjoy it.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. But you're talking, what, 60, 70 hours a week doing this?
I'd say more like
More?
about 25. No, I'd say about more 25 because I have full time. I work
Okay.
full time, but I would say that a lot of times if I get in the office about 7:30, it'll be about 10:30. Sometimes it'll go to 12, where I'm just on the phone or I'm answering emails and things like
Okay.
that. So I could say 25. It really feels like it's 40, but I don't know if that would be a realistic number to just put out there. And then you have evenings where you do go to events. I'd say probably 3 nights a week I will be going to some other event, and then the weekends as well. So all encompassing, it's time consuming, but I would say more around the 25-hour range.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours in your job? In your
Full time.
work?
It's full time.
40?
Well, usually more than that because
Yeah.
I never get home at 5. I never leave at 5, and I'm usually trying to get in between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning.
It's a pretty full day.
Yeah. So, but again, if I'm enjoying it, that's great, and I am enjoying it.
So how do you stay in such good shape?
Yeah, I work out.
Okay.
I do. Yeah, actually, it was a present from my wife back in Christmas to go out to and start working out in the gym. So I do that. A lot of times, you'll see individuals who are older, and I witnessed that with my father, where he didn't do a lot. And I said, Dad, atrophy will set in. You need to do stuff. And I don't want to fall victim to that. I've always been very, I guess, athletic, you could say.
Okay.
And I want to try to maintain it.
Exercise is really important at this stage in our life, whether it's something as easy as just taking a walk,
Mm-hmm.
in the evening, or whether it's push-ups and sit-ups.
Sure.
When we bought our house, the people who lived there before had a very extensive gym downstairs, and for some reason I still don't understand, they left it all there.
Yeah, right.
It is hard to disassemble and to move, but I remember when they told me, we're going to leave a bunch of stuff here because we're moving to be closer to our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, oh, okay, well that makes sense. Where are you moving to? And it turns out if you go across the river, it's about 2 miles from it's over off Camden.
Okay.
And we live in Harbor Pointe, so I figured they were moving to Pennsylvania or
Right,
Chicago or someplace,
Right.
but they were downsizing. They had some health issues, and so we were the beneficiary of some really nice equipment. A lot of which is used by our cats and dogs as a place to sit and observe. Anyway, John, it has been an extreme pleasure having you drop by today.
Thanks for having me.
And talking about this area, which is so important, and it's so important that people go out and vote, because so much of what impacts your life as a citizen of Wicomico County is going to come from the county council. Think about that when you decide that you're not going to vote and you're going to go see Elvis instead. No, don't do that. Anyway, thanks again.
Yes.
This has been Billy Earl here on, I'm going to smile, here on Eastern Shore Politics. Have a great day. Stay safe. Namaste.